Hey people, and on today's sponsored vlog, we are playing Clash of the Ardennes. Let's get to it! Hey Meeple people, and hello Sarah.
Hi.
So what are we playing today on our vlog?
Today we are playing Clash of the Ardennes, which is a two-player turn-based tile-laying tactical board game that plays in about an hour and is sort of representative of a military clash that occurred during the Battle of the Bulge, which was a battle fought during World War II. Against the Axis powers and the Allied powers. So we're going to kind of recreate that battle here on the tabletop. And the way that the game is played is that we are going to be deploying units to the battlefield. Now, normally we would start with sort of like a blank battlefield here, and we would fill it as we play. But I wanted to set up a couple of examples for you, so we've laid out a few things to begin with. But normally this would start blank. What happens is on a player's turn, you get 4 action points that you can spend, and you can spend those action points to do a few different things. One of the things that you can do on your turn for 1 action point is deploy any one of your units. So I could deploy this tank to the battlefield here, and that would just cost me 1 action point. I can deploy it to an empty street. I could deploy it to a street where I already have units in play, like this, for example. I could also, for an action point, move a unit that I have sort of leapfrog over the other units,
2
right?
action points, right?
Yes, I'm sorry. For 2 action points, I could leapfrog another unit. So I control this tank here and this infantry. There's plenty of space in the street in front of it, so I could take this tank from sort of the back of my line, and I could leapfrog it over like this. Now, if I was in a situation, let's say that I was in this situation here, I couldn't break the line, right? So I couldn't leapfrog this tank over this infantry unit and leave this guy all by himself back here, but I could leapfrog this infantryman to the front of this line here. And there might be instances where that's beneficial to me. Another thing that I could do for a number of action points, depending on the situation, is I could remove a piece from the board, right? So this unit right here is in a situation where it can't move any further because there's this anti-tank mine sitting right here. So this tank is essentially stuck, can't really go any further until something happens with this.
Dare I say blocked?
Yeah, it's blocked, right? So if a unit is blocked, you can recall that unit from the board as well, but that takes 3 action points. So I can just simply remove this unit from the board for 3 action points. You can also remove unblocked units from the board, but that only takes 2. So again, I could remove this one from the board, but that would only take 2 of my action points. If during your turn you would come across a situation where there would be a clash, like for example, if I spent an action point on my turn to place this tank right here. Well, as soon as that happens, we have a situation where enemy pieces are adjacent to one another. So what's going to happen is a clash will occur, and this unit is going to kind of do battle against this unit. And based on how strong this unit is versus how strong this unit is, one of these will win, right? So a tank is stronger than an infantryman, unfortunately for this guy. So he is going to be removed from play. Now this sort of reverberates down this entire street here until this unit meets a unit that is as strong as this unit or stronger. So it would take out this first infantryman here, it would continue by taking out the next infantryman, but then it would meet another tank. So it would stop its assault. This tank would just sort of like cease the conflict. But in the process, I was able to remove 2 of my enemy's units from that street. So that's it. On your turn, you have 4 action points. You can spend them to deploy units to the board. You can spend them to move units. You can spend them to recall units. You can spend all 4 if you want, but you don't have to. And the entire point of moving all these units around and getting units hopefully in the way that you want them is to try to meet a secret objective that you have. Each player has a secret objective, and whichever player can complete their secret objective first wins the game immediately. So I'm not going to show you my secret objective, but I've got one and Nick has one, and whichever of us is able to first achieve our secret objective will immediately win the game and the battle. There's a few special units that we're not going to talk about right now, but they get some like special abilities, and they don't have to necessarily abide by all of the rules that some of the other units have to abide by. But that's Clash of the Ardennes in a nutshell. Shall we give it a try?
Yeah, we're going to go ahead and give it a shot. And everything you're seeing here is a prototype.
Yes.
So this will not be reflecting the final product, or dare I say final form of this game coming to Kickstarter soon. And yeah, let's get into it. We'll come back soon and show you guys our progress of this battle. So toodles! Well, welcome back, Meeple people, and hello, Sarah.
Hi.
So, how's it going so far in our game of Clash of the Andre?
Clash of the Ardennes.
Ardennes.
Clash of the Ardennes.
Clash of the Ardennes.
So it's going. I'm not sure how well. The objectives are secret. So I don't know how close or how far Nick might be to meeting his objective, but he has completed an entire street. He's gotten from one end of the street to the other, so he is able to claim this street for himself, and this is probably one of several things that he needs to win. Typically there's not really any reason for you to claim a street unless it's part of your objective. So I'm assuming that at least part of Nick's objective is to claim a street, or maybe to like claim a street by using his general, or something along those lines.
Tricky, tricky, tricky.
For some reason, Nick thinks that claiming this street, whether in particular or just because it is any street, somehow he thinks that this is going to help him to meet his objective and win the game. So he's got that under his belt. I currently haven't claimed any streets yet, but I feel like my objective is well in hand to a point. I'm making good progress towards my own objective, I think, and we will see what happens next.
Yes. So we just want to get back because I just took a street and just kind of give you all a feel about, how it's going so far. A lot of dead soldiers and tanks running over my guys and all that intense stuff that war games bring to the table. And I also got a victory card that gives me special bonuses within the game. So
one thing that happens is if you can get to the other side of a street and claim it the way that Nick has done here, you get to draw one of these victory cards, and they give you some like bonuses for basically attaining a victory, right? Additionally, Nick used his general to complete
help me
this
complete
row
it.
here. Each player has 4 special units at their disposal throughout the game, but each one of them can be the only one on the board at any time. So Nick's general being in play right now means that he is not going to be able to put into play any of his other special units. Additionally, because he has completed this street right here, these units are locked in play for the rest of the game, which means that Nick is not going to be able to get his general off the board, which means that he is never going to be able for the rest of the game to play any special units. So I'm hoping that even though he's achieved sort of a minor victory over here, that because I still have the flexibility of being able to use all of my special units, whereas he's no longer able to do that, I'm hoping that means that I still have
a chance.
hopefully I still have a chance. Additionally, his general doesn't actually provide any benefit for him except that it's the longest piece in the game. So he was able to make really good strides on this street by using his general, but unlike some of the other specials in the game, it's not actually going to provide him any other benefit. If you use things like the infantry or your command tank, then you can fire upon units that you normally wouldn't be able to fire on with similar pieces. And if you use the spy, then the spy is able to usually make quite a good forward progress because the spy can sort of plow through a lot of different units. So I'm hoping that because Nick used his general in such a way that he is now not going to be able to get the general off the board, which means he will never be able to play another special unit. I'm hoping that that means that I still have a fighting chance. Plus, like I said, I think I've got my objectives fairly well in hand. I don't know what Nick's are, but I know that he is at least well on his way to meeting them probably. But we'll just have to see what happens.
Indeed. All right, well, we'll get back to you guys towards the, or at the end, and we will show you who is the winner and loser. All right, toodles. Welcome back, people, and I got whooped again.
Well, actually, so this one was kind of interesting. There are...
Still got whooped, but interesting.
There are 5 different objective cards, each of which there are 2 copies in the objective deck, and at the beginning of the game, we're each randomly given one of these cards, and randomly, it just so happened that Nick and I both ended up each with a copy of the same objective card. So there's only 2 copies of each one in the deck. We just managed to end up randomly with
I was getting real frustrated. I was like, why is she doing the thing that I need to do?
So that was kind of weird, but both of our objectives for this game just happened to be the same, and it was that we needed to conquer the middle street with only 4 units, and then we needed to conquer an additional street of our choice. Didn't matter which one, but just the middle street with 4 units and 1 other street. So Nick pretty much locked this down very, very early in the game. He played and was able to lock down this street right here. So he was kind of halfway to his win. I, soon after that, was able to lock down this street right here. So I was halfway to my win. And then we were really just back and forth pushing over who was going to take
wondering why the heck
wall.
she's fighting me so hard in this one. Don't understand it.
But finally I was able to
Kick me in the
manipulate
teeth
some things.
and
so that I could win.
So normally you're not supposed to play 2 special units, but she won from a previous, she won a victory card.
Yeah, when I took this line right here, I got this victory card, which said that I could have 2 specials in play at a time. And that's actually what ended up letting me, or giving me the victory, was because I had my spy in place, which was able to repeatedly remove units of Nick's from the middle because he was really fighting for it too. And then in addition to my spy, I was able to place my general out, which got me the last 5 units of length I needed to get to actually take over the center lane there. So
yeah, really sucked. I was like, hey, she was doing something, and I was like, hey, what about this? And I know it was like, you know, I was right close to the losing point, but I was like, hey, you know, maybe she won't do it. And she's like, no, I'll do that. And I'm like,
yeah, so what happened was I was trying to figure out how to play my general in such a way that I could keep Nick from doing something, I can't remember, in like one of these lanes, I think. And Nick was like, hey, if you're interested, if you played your general here instead, because I had revealed my card that I could have 2 specialists in play at a time, so he knew that I could have both of these in play. He said if you played your general here instead, you would gain control over the middle lane, if that's something that you're interested in doing. And I was like, oh, well, I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to win the game. So it was really a team effort. Nick did not have to point out that...
You know, when you play games, you don't really want to... Like, if someone's having a struggle, you know, a difficult time, whichever the game is.
I was starting to get a little bit frustrated, too, because I one of the things that I dislike in games are games where there's like a tug of war, where you're really just like tugging and tugging and tugging and trying to get things to end up like on your side, kind of thing. That can be really, really
exhausting.
That can just wear me out on like the fun of a game really quickly. So the first time we played this, I didn't have any problem with that. I thought that I might, because of the nature of the game, I thought that I might get kind of fatigued with that sort of tug of war feel. And the first time we played, I didn't. But this time, where we were both trying for that exact same objective, I was starting to get a little bit tug of war fatigued. So it was nice that Nick pointed that out for me so that we could kind of end the game.
Yeah, I think this game does have like that tug of war feel, but also at the same time, I feel like there are things to mitigate that tug of war feeling.
For sure.
To go back and forth.
I think the fact that us getting the same objective, obviously that's not against the rules in any way. That works, right? And it even created like an interesting scenario for us here.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, really interesting.
I think that the chances of that happening are pretty slim.
We said what, 10%? That was.
I think it's like a 10% chance that we would end up with the same objective. The fact that we did in this game, I think, was just kind of a fluke almost, even though it's not like against the rules or anything like that. So I think if we had different objectives, I probably wouldn't have felt that tug of war fatigue.
Yeah.
Because we wouldn't both be arguing over essentially the same thing.
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
But it just happened out in this game that's kind of the way the cards were dealt. So.
Yeah.
What did you think, Nick?
I enjoyed it. I don't really, sometimes with war games, they're kind of complicated and they always have little bits and pieces and you gotta move a lot of your forces in such a way that are just, kind of hectic and, sporadic all over the field. But this one, it didn't seem so. It seemed, just an easy, simple rock, paper, scissors kind of rule set with, some simple guidelines of how the game plays, and I like the quality of the bits. Again, these are not the final production, but really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think based on, they provided a little bit of literature about like their plans for it. They're going to kickstart this sometime in March, and everything that you see here is prototype, but they're going to have kind of like very similar pieces, right? So like the piece that has like the sort of, tray at the bottom here that fits really snugly with the top of a piece so that they can kind of like almost nest together like this. That's part of their final design. I think the board itself is going to be pretty similar to this, but it's going to have almost like grid lines, which would be really helpful because
there were supposed to be grid lines right over here, but there were some printing issues. So, but they said that's going to be in the final production.
Yeah,
where
so with
you
the
can kind
final
of measure things out without telling
so
people.
What we were doing, we were like, okay, I'm just going to measure, okay, and then we'd like put things out to just to kind of try to see like where we were. But with their final product having the grid lines, I think that'll be an improvement for sure.
Definitely.
And I think they also said they're going to upgrade the quality of their cards as well. These, I actually really like these.
I like them.
Yeah, I like them, and I feel like they've got
they kind of fit the theme.
Exactly, this nice sort of like thematic feel to them. But they said that they're going to work on upgrading those too. So this isn't what it's going to look like when it does go to Kickstarter.
Or like
it'll
final
be
form.
Pretty similar, I think, but there might be some component adjustments. If they work with maybe like different materials or different finishes or that kind of thing. But for the most part, this is what it's going to be like. There's also a Kickstarter exclusive piece in here. I think it was this one, the mortar specialist, is a Kickstarter exclusive, I believe. So anyway, I think it was really neat. Typically, I'm not hugely attracted to war games.
Realistic war ones?
Yeah, especially realistic ones. There's a small portion at the front of the rule book that lays out like a journal entry that a private was writing kind of about this skirmish. And I tried to read this and it made me quite upset. I hate considering war, and what it does to people and nations and the planet and so on. This is usually a theme that I don't enjoy very often. I usually feel like I cannot be distracted from the theme by the mechanics enough to avoid becoming sad or upset by the theme, but I didn't feel overwhelmed with like grief or frustration when I was playing this game because of the theme. Normally I think I would in a war game, but this one, the tactics and the strategy in the underlying game itself were engaging enough to me to where I feel like I was just a tiny bit removed from the theme itself, which for me was nice. I could focus on the tactics and the strategy and not the theme, right? Not the fact that it was about war. So I liked that. Sometimes I feel like in war games, the tactics or strategies available to players are not enough. They're not interesting enough to disguise or distract from
the theme.
But in this case, I felt like they were. I felt like the tactics and the strategies were really interesting. I feel like you had a lot of freedom with a little bit that you could do. You couldn't really do that much, but in that little bit that you could do a lot. I don't know that really makes sense, but there were only a few actions, but there was a lot that you could actually do with those actions. So I actually really liked the gameplay of it for a tug of war game. And I think that the theme was kind of the peas hidden under the mashed potatoes kind of thing, right? Like it worked out okay. So yeah, and the artwork is not objectable in any
gruesome,
way. There's no horror.
There's no like really like it's Access over here. Like I was the Access or Axis, and it wasn't anything crazy that was on there. So
and I think too. I think that it was fairly. It took like a fairly realistic approach, right? It didn't. Yeah. There weren't like mech armies or anything like that.
Or it also didn't sugarcoat what this was.
Yeah. So I think overall it's a very well done game. I'm looking forward to seeing what the creators come up with for sort of like the final form of it when they go to Kickstarter, especially because I think there's a few things physically that could be worked out here with like better components or a different physical approach to this, but I think for the most part they've done a really, really nice job with not just the game itself, but actually like the production of it. These are really nice pieces, and
this is a really nice prototype.
Yeah, this is like a prototype, but these are really nice pieces, and the way that it all physically works together is quite nice too. Like I said, I feel like there's a few areas they could smooth out, but because this isn't final form, I'm absolutely willing to like wait and see what they actually come up with for final form, because I think that like even the tiny little issues that exist here physically with the game, I think they can work out fairly easily, and probably will before they go to Kickstarter.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think for me as a 2-player tactics and strategy war game, this definitely gets like a thumbs up. Like I said, I normally shy away from these kind of games because of the theme, but I feel like they did a really, really good job with this one. And if I had to play a war game, I wouldn't say no to this one.
Cool. All right. Well, that was our vlog of the Clash of... Oh, help me out.
Ardennes.
Clash of the Ardennes. And we appreciate the people the creative team behind this, of sending us a copy so we can go ahead and put this on our channel. And we hope you all enjoyed this vlog, and we will catch you all next time. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button and that bell icon to stay up to date with all our content. All right, toodles!